Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, rather had fun.
You're recording?
Now we're recording.
You might have gotten some.
Now we're
Didn't
recording.
use any of that.
Yeah. We always get a little extra.
Yeah.
You're always good though. I mean, Thomas will never do anything we tell him not to do, which is good. You've got trust here. Seriously.
Don't say that on here. They'll think I'm your lapdog.
Yeah, I know, but you'll say stuff that I don't like. I've told you.
Uh-huh.
This is bullshit. I tell you.
Yeah. Well, you will be like, and you'll be like, you're biased toward, XYZ. And then everybody else will be like, you're biased toward the PPA.
0%. You get that 0%.
Oh, absolutely. Every organization thinks we're biased toward the other.
Really?
We are rolling, by the way.
Which is good. That means you're doing your job.
Yeah, we call it down the middle. I mean, we call it as it is. I know you don't always feel that way, but we certainly do. But anyway, all right.
Maybe it's true.
Yeah. Well, we're live. I'm pumped to have you here. I think it's going to be fun. We've got a lot of good topics lined up. We did give you a few of them.
Yeah, but first and foremost, there's a lot of drama, obviously, going on in the pickleball world, whether it's PEDs or paddles. But what the pickleball world wants to know is, Connor, did you find a live-in nanny for your place?
We did.
Okay.
So for those of you that don't know, I have two sets of twins, which is awesome. The oldest set is 3. The youngest set is 1. And so obviously with the move between Salt Lake and Dallas, not as much family help, but we found like the most unbelievable person. So we got really lucky.
Okay.
Almost as good as my wife. She's very, very good.
There we go.
Really good to the kids.
When is that move occurring?
So we've already moved.
Okay.
And so most of the PPA Tour staff now is all officing out of downtown Dallas, which has been a lot of fun. So we've had over 20 people like literally get up, move their families, move down there. So it's a big commitment.
Wild. So
it is.
You told me you have what, like 60 employees in office now?
Yeah, just over 60 employees, and it's kind of crazy to see it all grow. I mean, when we first met, I mean, we had 8 guys, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really grown a lot over the past 2 years.
And you guys were you all wore very many hats. Let's just say
still do,
that.
which is the best part about it.
Yeah, definitely.
But way more than we did before.
Yeah.
I know, we're going to hire all these people and they're going to come in and help a lot. And then we realized Ogden was doing 5 jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Including throwing creamies out at the first Mesa I went to.
Very underrated.
Yeah.
Very underrated.
Yeah.
Ice cream.
His ability to hype up the crowd is
it's probably probably his number one most important hat. I would guess, is throwing out the creamies.
100%. 100%.
Love it.
But you guys, I mean, even that is something like a position you filled almost. It's like you have people trying to just increase the energy on site, right? Like you have such a big team now. It's like there's not one thing you guys aren't thinking about and actively putting people in place to improve. And like just comparing, like I just mentioned, that first Mesa we were at, which was 2 years ago, to the most recent one I was at, which was Dallas, the Texas Open. It's like night and day. It's unbelievable. I mean, really starting to resemble a professional sports organization. I mean, like a pro tour. It's pretty cool to see. So.
Yeah, I have to say, you guys do a really good job of getting butts and seats. That's for sure. And it's cool to see the live stream numbers continuing to grow, because I think that's been a big question about the future of pickleball. Is what is the viewership going to look like? And it's interesting that it's been kind of a steady climb. No real big spikes in viewership.
No,
unless I'm wrong.
A little bit, but no, I think you're right. I remember the first time we started, we were excited to get 500 people watching at once. And so this last event, we actually broke 10,000 live viewers at one time on YouTube, which was great.
There we go.
That number is obviously a little bit high the last event because there wasn't Tennis Channel coverage. So you'll kind of see the way it moves. But, whether we're on broadcast TV or YouTube, we're seeing this steady climb. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
A little bit better, a little bit bigger each and every week.
Very good.
All right. Should we be a little bit more nice to him before we get into the tough stuff?
Yeah, we gotta butter him up.
Some
a
more
little
compliments.
I like the suit.
Thanks.
I like the suit a lot. Where'd you get it?
Professional for a professional event,
Absolutely. That's why I'm wearing my Viore.
Great brand.
It is a great brand. Yeah, very cool. I do like the step up. When did you decide to start wearing a suit?
we decided a couple events ago. And so I just think it's important. We want to look professional at a professional event. Everywhere we go now, there's tons of people coming to meet with us, whether, this weekend, Southwest Airlines or Wyndham Grand Vacations. We just want to make sure we look the part because we really want our whole event and tour to be professional. So might as well start with the basics, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm going to miss the old scrappy days, but
I'd much rather be in my Lulu hoodie.
All right. Well, then let's get into the first topic because I think this is something that was kind of our fault that it became such a big conversation. Well, not our fault, like DJ Young.
We were there when it happened.
But I mean, obviously DJ made the comments about the carbon paddles being banned. We now know that essentially they're not banned. You could play with them, but at your own risk, they will be subject to off-site testing after PPA Austin. And should they fail compliancy tests, you could potentially forfeit your winnings or any points that you earned in the event. So can you kind of shed a little bit of light on where that stands right now, the whole carbon saga, those paddles in particular, and then maybe we can talk about paddle testing generally.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. We're at a really unique spot in the sport right now where, paddles, since I've been in the game now for the past 4 years, and I'm sure Zane can attest to this too, and you too, Thomas, is the paddle technology, it's constantly changing and it's evolving and it's getting better. And I think that's a really good thing. It's an important thing for the sport of pickleball that there's innovators and there's people there that are thinking and progressing and trying to make things better, whether it be paddle technology or the way you're playing the game, strategy. But as stewards of the game, we also want to make sure that's within a legal limit.
Yep.
And one of the best parts about this year, and I would have told you were lying if you told me this, but the fact that we have, MLP, the PPA Tour, and now USA Pickleball all working together, I would have told you're lying if you told me that. And so I think that's going to be the big story when we go back and look at pickleball history and what happened this year. That's what happened this year.
Yeah.
And I remember our conversation, I don't know if it'll ever happen.
Right.
And everyone knew if these organizations could get together and work together that pickleball would be able to start moving the right way. And so that's kind of where we are now with this paddle testing is, we recently put out a statement with Major League Pickleball and USA Pickleball, and we're all understanding our own lane and what we need to do to continue to grow the sport. And, recently USA Pickleball conducted a test on the Carbon Power Series.
Yep.
There were some items that came back there high and not in spec, and they have not made a current ruling yet. So it puts someone like us in an interesting spot where we know there's a paddle that came back. There's not an official ruling in place. And so for us, we're saying, hey, you only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. And people can say anything they want, this paddle's high or this paddle may be off. Everyone's saying something different, but all I can know is what the data says and what we have today. And,
right.
There's a paddle that USA Pickleball is trying to figure out what they're going to do with and what the official ruling is going to be. And so, sure, you can use that paddle on our tour, but we want to make sure it's inside the specifications. And the only way we saw as an organization to be able to help with that is say, look, if it's legal and if you believe it's legal, right now it's not illegal, play with it. But we do know that there is some discrepancies, so we just want to do a little bit further checking in.
Sure.
So that's where we're at today.
So with the USA Pickleball stuff, obviously Carl Schmitz has been on site at the last couple of tournaments. Was the last tournament the first one that he was on site at?
No, he's been here for all but one so far this year.
Okay.
And really the thought of that is we need to try and have as much testing capabilities on site. Really the problem right now is in order to test dwell time and deflection, you got to set it into a lab and you got to wait. And then I've got to FedEx a paddle back to somebody. You know what I mean? It's just very inefficient, but it's very, very expensive to do it the right way on site right now.
Yeah.
That's where all of us working together,
He said it's a $65,000 machine to be able to test deflection on site, which is not the same thing as dwell time.
I think it's a $100,000 problem to have everything we need, which obviously we're going to do. It's a very important investment. But then the other is the learning curve, like how we're going to have to beta. We're going to have to try to understand. We got to collect data. We need to understand how bad the problem really is. We need to make sure what we're doing on site matches up with what happens at the lab. So Like, is the end in sight? Are we going to have more definitive things on site? Absolutely. Is it going to be done tomorrow? Probably not.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's probably super tough just to keep up with all the, it's like, you know, one day it's grit, the next day it's deflection, the next day it's dwell time. Yep. Now I'm hearing about this delamination thing. It's like, I mean, you're basically just like putting out fires as you go. But one thing I told Zane, I wanted him to clarify if he can, and maybe you can take a shot at it too. Explain to me delamination, because I do not understand it, and I don't understand how it affects the paddles, but it came up again today. Today is Thursday, so it's singles day. Came up again today as a topic of kind of discrepancy in the paddle manufacturing process.
I mean, I'll let Zane start.
Yeah, so the way that I understand delamination is when a paddle is brand new, the top layer of the paddle is supposed to stick to whatever the core material is, and so they're flush against one another.
And they use like an adhesive in between the two.
Yes,
in between the two, there's like an adhesive, almost like gel or sticky substance that's supposed to be holding these two together.
And delamination is over time the glue or whatever is holding them together basically dissipates or moves elsewhere or deeper into the core, which creates a small gap between the surface of the paddle and the core of the paddle. That small gap then acts like a trampoline effect, where the top level of the paddle on these paddles that are in question is a carbon face. So that's a very, very soft material in and of itself, and it'll have a lot of give. So what that carbon face does is the ball will hit, it'll sink way into the paddle, hit the core, and then like slingshot back out, where it's not supposed to. It's supposed to hit the paddle and the core basically at the same time. It's supposed to hit the face and the core are supposed to be one and not have that little pocket in between. And you can hear it, right? It's a hollow sounding hit. I don't know. What is
No, that
your...
sounds accurate. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I'm not an expert. That's why we have engineer and industry experts that are the ones that are doing this, not me. But the same way. I understand it the same way. And, what's happening now is there's paddles that, there's discrepancy along how fast and how hard is the ball coming back.
Right.
And it's not so much the spin, which was Paddlegate 1.0, right? Was more of the spin, the grit.
The good old days.
Yes. Now we're talking more about power and, the velocity of the ball coming off the paddle.
Yeah. Right. But at the same time that you're trying to police all these things, you don't want to curtail innovation.
100%.
Right? Like you want the equipment to continue to get better.
It's a balancing act. You're always balancing, right?
Yeah.
And you want people to be motivated, and you want people in the sport that can, I'd like to think that we've tried to push the needle and push the limits in our own way of trying to grow a professional tour and a business. And, for me, when I see pickleball, like the more people you can get involved and care and be able to make businesses and be able to be a part of the sport as possible, win for everybody. It doesn't matter if it's another tour you're competing with, if it's another organization, if it's a paddle manufacturer, if it's someone that wants to make pickleball socks. Like the more people you can get talking about it, thinking about it, spending time on it, it's going to be good for your business. It's going to be good for my business. It's going to be good for your career. And so, you really don't want to limit that. But at the same time, we need to make sure pickleball is true to what it's always been with being able to still evolve. And it's a very tricky balancing act.
Yeah. Right.
Definitely. Yeah, it's difficult to do, and I personally I like all the innovation, right?
Of course,
I just want a level playing field for everybody.
Yes.
Right. I don't care if the RZ we end up with is 40 or 80, but it's got to be 40 or 80 for everybody.
Yes.
Right. What you can't have is some people playing by the rules and some people not playing by the rules. And it's not an accusation of a player necessarily, but I don't think that players are all completely innocent. Like we have these limits, and I think you can pick up a paddle and you can feel, okay, this is gritty or this is really powerful. Your manufacturer tells you it's legal. Like, is there any obligation on the player to do a little due diligence on that? Is there an obligation on the player to check their manufacturer if they're playing with something that like, this feels a lot different than anything I've ever hit with? What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I think so, to some degree. And obviously a lot lies with the manufacturer, but also, there's some integrity from the players too, trying to do the best you can. And, you have a lot of these larger companies that are maybe more established, have been around a little longer, and they have done a really good job as far as making sure their stuff is legal and actually going through processes. And it's the rapid growth, though, like the rapid growth of the sport. There's other companies that pop up so quick, and their R&D might not be the same, right? And they might not have the same processes behind what they're doing. And so I think that's what makes it tricky is you've got some people that, there's no way in hell they're going to put a paddle out that's illegal. They're just not. It's impossible. They're not going to allow it. And then there's other people where I don't know if it's intentional, if it's not intentional, but they're just not, they don't have the same processes as what some of these other companies have.
Yeah.
Sure. If you're a new paddle manufacturer, there's less to lose than an established brand. As a business strategy, I think it'd be foolish to not push the limits, right? Let's say you're a brand new paddle manufacturer, right? Let's say I have a 50% chance of getting caught doing something illegal, and I have a down payment of $50,000 of inventory to make all of this. My range of outcomes is I lose $50,000 or I could make $1 million, right? And so I think it's a good ROI for a paddle manufacturer to come out with something illegal right away.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that people wouldn't do that, but the world.
If you're looking at dollars and cents only, right? We've had this conversation about line calls. Obviously, there's reputational damage and everything, but if you're just looking at it from a monetary perspective, why not really push the limit when you're a new company with nothing to lose? When you're an established company, you have something to lose, right? You have that reputation, but I don't know.
Hot take.
It is a hot take. But if you look at the companies that Ben basically accused in his tweet, they're all those exact same companies. They're companies I'd never heard of before.
Yeah.
So
and who's sold out right now? 50% of the companies he named. Because when you're in controversy for pushing the limit in terms of technology and improving play, people are going to want to buy your paddle, especially if it hasn't been deemed illegal at this point. So if you can push the limits, get people talking, it's going to benefit you from a sales perspective. I just ordered the Carbon Power 2 or whatever that is, like right before I came here, because I was like, it's going to be sold out. And Legacy is like backed up on orders, and they're the ones who are kind of under the microscope right now. Maybe not from the organizations, but everybody, all the conjecture.
And I don't know if it's because it's like they're flying off the shelf, but it's also they probably are smaller companies. They've got less capital. They've got smaller runs.
That's true.
If we're actually looking at volume, I'm sure Selkirk is selling far more paddles.
For sure.
And Onyx and Engage. But yes, there's growth in their company that they obviously weren't forecasting or couldn't inventory properly, because people are talking about it.
Yeah.
Are there any other brands that are currently like under a microscope as pertains to legality?
Every company right now, we want to make sure everyone's playing within the rules. There's not a certain 3 or 4 people where we're like, hey, we got to really check over there. I think it's really trying to understand what we have. And again, like with this Carbon and the Austin Open this weekend, we only know what we know. And when we're told that there's a paddle that, has a discrepancy, we have to take action. We can't have knowledge of something and not do something about it. So I think a lot of that's going to lie on USA Pickleball. It's a really an important thing that we make sure everybody's playing on the same rules. Sure. What are those rules? Let's figure out what those rules are, but let's make sure everyone's playing by the same rule book.
Yeah, no, agreed. So on that regard, Ben in a tweet specifically called out 3, which is Vatic Pro, Legacy, and Black Diamond. Like, I guess, what do you guys need to know to make a similar statement for those paddles? Or do we all just send our paddles in? Like, I'm okay with that option.
I know you are.
I had the grit. I had the grit test, but you can test me for deflection. Go ahead.
It's my first time hearing about Ben's tweet when we sat down here today. It must be fairly recent. And that's no way in shape or form going to persuade us to do anything different from what we're doing. We've got a working relationship with USA Pickleball. They're currently going to continue to update us on, are those paddles being tested by them? Maybe. I don't know. But they're going to continue to update us on where they're at and we're just going to be able to only do what we can do with the information that we're given.
Gotcha. So just to clarify the process, you guys, PPA was informed by USAP of this, and then you decided to act on it.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense. And if anybody can say anything in the court of public opinion, that won't sway you. But if USA Pickleball comes and says something, that's when you would act?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Or if for some reason, if there's any information that we have that is real information showing that a paddle is, or paddles are not in the certain specifications, then yes, of course, we play right now. Every paddle that can be played on our tour has to be USA Pickleball approved. They're the ones that put their stamp on it. They take paddles have to pay money to go in this process to be an approved paddle. And so they're the stewards of that relationship between what is legal and what's not, between the sport of pickleball and the paddles. And so we're really following their lead, and we're here to help and to aid. And for us, we're just under a microscope because we're the pro tour. Mm-hmm. And so for us, fairness is the most important thing. How can we make sure every match on that court is as fair as possible? Gotcha.
Well, can we have a tournament with wood paddles?
It would be fun. Seattle, the Oregon.
There we go.
Open.
Have us all. I'd be in.
Or just one tournament where everybody uses whatever paddle it is, the same paddle. So there's no advantage. Yeah.
I think they did that over at didn't the World Series of Pickleball do a Diadem Vice Day?
They did.
Everybody had to play with it.
I'm pretty sure everybody was using a Diadem Vice.
Have you ever used that paddle? I've seen pictures.
I have. Feels a lot like a couple of the other paddles we've been talking about. But it's very illegal.
Sounds like I should buy one.
It's like strings on it.
It's got holes in the surface, which are like very small holes. It kind of looks like a Padel racket. Mm-hmm. It's made out of some foamy material. And so like that's a paddle that you can really stick your fingers into and will have that trampoline effect. It's a rocket ship, and it's not USA Pickleball approved, nor is it intended to be USA Pickleball approved.
Like they just made a crazy paddle.
Yeah. Yeah. I hit with the thing. It's crazy. Agreed. So one other question, and then we'll move on from paddles. And this is kind of a moving on from paddles, mm-hmm. but you haven't seen the tweet, and the tweet can be irrelevant, but what do you think about Ben voicing his opinion publicly? And right now he's getting a lot of backlash about this.
I mean, I'm all about athletes having a platform, and I think you do it better than a lot of the players out there. Like there's a few people that I think do it really well, but
not well enough. Otherwise a Spencer would still be here. But anyway,
yeah, but I mean, you do a great job being able to show personality and show your opinion. And I think that's really important in the whole sport of pickleball. Like we want all athletes to be able to show that and have personality and be able to tell their story and give fans reasons to love them and give fans reasons to hate them. And, I think it's great that Ben's out there saying, what he's saying. And, I bet you a lot of people agree and a lot of people disagree, but I think it's great. I think I would like our athletes to do that more.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm personally very team Ben on this, and not even just the content, but just voicing his opinion on it. He's getting backlash from people saying like, stay in your lane, you need to mature, whatever. Right. But like he's the leading player voice in this sport, and he's saying what a ton of the players are thinking, what 90% of the players are thinking. He went out and said it. So good for him. I mean, he's going to have some haters, but I'm super on board. He wants to make sure that there's a level playing field and drawing attention to an issue, which.
One thing I'll say about Ben is he's one of the most easygoing, best people I've ever met. And if he is saying something, he really believes it and he really feels it, because it's not a Ben Johns move to send a tweet like this,
Yeah. I think I liked his little clarification tweet afterwards. He's like, I did not lose to somebody with these, nor have I ever lost to somebody with one of these paddles, but it's a problem.
Well, he wasn't the first one. I mean, Anna Lee had tweeted something similar about the Legacy less than a month ago.
I don't know if it was the Legacy. I think it was.
Oh, she didn't name it actually, but I remember like a lot of people were sort of saying that that's what they thought it was, but it's not like she lost the match. It's not like, because she did drop the one to Catherine, but she wasn't talking about that paddle. It was before that. But she did kind of voice it. The difference is Ben directly named who he thought was kind of stepping out of line, which I thought was pretty bold.
Send it.
Yeah.
Send it.
Speaking of sending it, because I think earlier this week, a few players sent it in relation to the performance enhancing drugs topic. It started as a couple tweets, players going back and forth. We wrote a blog about it. We talked about it in our newsletter. It's been an ongoing conversation, but really I would say that there's no proof or evidence of anything. It's just all conjecture, whispers. But for you sit there, you see this being talked about. How do you look at this? Is there a point where you have to say, all right, yeah, you know what, maybe we do have to start putting in some policies when it comes to players potentially using performance enhancing drugs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've talked about it already today on the paddle front. Having an equal playing field for as many people as possible is something that's very important to us. Performance enhancing drugs, it's the first I had even thought about it. I'd be lying to you if I was telling you differently. But we're in a unique spot right now where pickleball, it's really growing up and it's really continuing to formalize and professionalize. And that's why I think the alignment between the three groups is so important at this stage in pickleball. The growth this year and where the pro game especially is growing, even from the beginning of the year, I would argue out of the 4 years since the PPA Tour has been around, this has been the most growth we've seen. And, we're here and still Q1 of the year. And so, to really answer your questions, I think there's a lot of things in the professional game that need to get more professionalized. We currently have our in-house lawyer and an outside law group coming up with a player handbook. And, they might be silly things that, we just need to document that people have always been doing. And, also more severe things. And so this is something that, we're thinking about and we're taking seriously. And where we're at is you have to have a policy, you have to have a procedure, you have to have a reason, you have to have a rule, and that needs to be written down. And so where we're at is we're currently building that out, and we're getting to the point where we're going to be able to bring some of that stuff to the players for discussion here shortly. And it's one of the many items on the list.
Yeah. All right. But you're not actively thinking about the risk of, or you're not thinking of, hey, this player might be on drugs right now. Like that's not like what's going through your mind. It's
there's not somebody where for us, like we want every kind of accusation and anything that gets brought to us, we have to take it seriously.
Yeah.
And are there people out there claiming that people are doing certain things? And am I getting more description than everybody in this room? Yes. And so you have to take it seriously. Any pro player or any agent or anyone representing a professional player that brings something to you, we owe it to that person, no matter how big or how small that is. We have to look at it, we have to analyze it, and we have to understand if it's a problem. Mm-hmm. And I think we're at the point right now where we're looking at it.
Yeah.
So still a lot of work to do.
Yeah. God, that's a good answer. Dang it. Couldn't get anything out of you on that one.
What are the odds that you think, what are the odds that any player is playing on a performance enhancing drug right now? What would you?
Odds?
Yeah, what are the odds?
As a betting man.
No, we can talk about betting, but we're not going to put odds on
this. Gotcha. So you guys are actively looking into have there been conversations around drug testing? I know you spoke about the handbook.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this before even this popped up. As we're going around, we're looking at things. What are things that other professional organizations are doing? Things as silly as professional bull riding to the PGA, to the World Surfing League, to NBA. What are things that we think are applicable to our athletes, to our tour? And what's fun now is we've got so many partners to work with. We've got USA Pickleball to work with. We've got MLP to work with. And so before a year ago, it was more of like, hey, what do we think? What are we going to do? And it was more of a quick, easy, precise process. But now, there's more consulting with our partners and our other groups trying to make sure we make the right decision. But this is something we were talking about way before all this stuff hit. Like it's always been on the radar. And, we're just trying to understand, one, how do we handle it? How do other sports handle it? If there is a problem, what kind of penalties would be in place? And how do you actually enforce something like this? One, that's economical, and two, that's effective.
Can you talk about the economical side of things a little bit? Because I think the players are talking like, we want drug testing, we want it now, right? Anybody who's not on a performance enhancing drug wants everybody else tested, right? Which is, it's reasonable. But I think one of the pieces that's not being talked about in our conversations is the difficulty and how expensive it is to actually implement a program, a drug testing program. I guess, like, at what point is this something, like, how far down the road do you think something like that would be for the PPA Tour?
I mean, probably not that far. I mean, it's a very expensive problem. If you look at the way other leagues handle it, they've got employees and teams dedicated to this. And so there will most likely be something in place. I just don't know to what drastic measures we're going to go. Like, you look at sports that are in their infancies, or sports that are maybe smaller sports like the World Surfing League, smaller things like that. You can see how they handle it. And to be completely honest, it's just not as efficient. Like, those are the things you got, efficiency, and is it efficient, and is it cost effective, and does it actually work, and how much money does it take? And the more money you want to spend, the better it's going to work. Mm-hmm. And so those are the things that, is it worth us throwing something out there that, is very cost effective but doesn't really work because it makes people feel happy? Probably not. Like, if we're going to do it, we want to do it the right way, and trying to balance those two things it's like kind of like anything in life. You get what you pay for. So we just need to really understand the problem a little bit more and look at the whole scope of everything we're trying to do right now. And it's more of a matter of, when, not if. Sure.
Is there a particular sport that you think is similar to pickleball in the way? Padel? Okay. So
you look at Padel, you look at the professional side of Padel, and I think you see, I've always looked at it, they're a little further ahead on the professional side of things as we are.
This is to clarify, like in Europe.
In Europe, mm-hmm. Yeah, in Europe, not here. Of course, not here. But a lot of times we'll find things that they're doing and we'll rip off and duplicate because they're already doing a great job. Like, don't fix something that doesn't need to be fixed. Let's take something that's working and let's find a way to use it the way we're using it, and use it for pickleball. So I think that's a good sport when we're talking about growth and professionalism and really taking it to the next level. You can really look at what they're doing, and they have a lot of good things. We're going to pass them very, very soon. Like, I believe pickleball players are already getting paid more by the time you start adding in endorsements and other things.
It's so expensive to make a Padel court.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, each one of those is multiple six figures.
The growth, it just can't grow the same. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. Yeah, I always say, pickleball, it has a couple things that are going for it. One, it's the size, and one is how cheap it is to actually get in and do it. Mm-hmm. Like, those two things, almost anyone can put one in their backyard, unless you live in the city like you and you. But almost anyone can put one in their backyard, and it's so cheap and so easy to get into. So, Padel just doesn't have that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Well, very cool. Good to hear that we have some progress on some of the testing and whatnot. And I think people will be happy to hear some of that. Whether it's now or whether it's down the road, it's at least being addressed. So
yeah. One thing we did kind of touch on, and we do have it as a topic, we might as well bring it up now. So, gambling. I've been hearing about gambling for over a year. You and I have had many conversations about it. Yeah. The reason we ever started this podcast in the first place is because I was told gambling's coming to pickleball. You need a podcast so you can get a big gambling sponsorship. And that was the birth of PicklePod. Maybe people don't realize.
We have friends. We need interest.
Yeah. But sounds like it's back on the table. Mm-hmm. How far away from me being able to lose all my friends and family because I'm a gambling degenerate, gambling on pickleball every weekend?
Very, very soon. Which I think is very exciting. And we've been saying that a long time. But what people don't realize is how much actually goes into gambling. It's nice that we own pickleballtournaments.com and pickleball brackets. We have tournament history. The hard part is the tech isn't where it needs to be today to really be able to gamble.
Which tech? The pickleball tournaments or the streaming or
the underwriting, the creation of the odds themselves, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Well, a lot. There's a lot of tech that goes into it. One, like creating the odds themselves and the matchups and the probability and the match data and the match history. And how many times has Zane Navertail played against Tyson McGuffin? How do you usually perform in game one versus game two? What's your record against him? Do you usually win game 2 and game 3 instead of game 1? Is Tyson a slow starter? Does Ben roll out of bed and, take a minute to warm up? Those are all things that we have to collect data on so people can actually put the proper bets, and so getting all those things where they're talking to each other and we're able to take data that's usable. We had so much data with pickleballtournaments.com. Too much data, so much data. But the data that we had, I mean, you saw what that site was built upon. Honestly, it's one of the best assets that we have as a company, our parent company, pickleball.com, because we have so much information and so much data.
Pickleballtournaments.com, now pickleball.com.
Yeah, so pickleballtournaments.com itself was one of the best assets that we have because we have so much information there.
Yeah.
Whether it's the amateur player or the pro player. But the data is just so old, it's just not usable. And so being able to take that and now make it usable took a lot longer than we thought. So last weekend in Daytona, I don't know if you saw it, but we had referees that were out there with iPads instead of clipboards.
Oh, I didn't.
On multiple matches where they were not using the clipboard anymore. I know Don Stanley did one of the matches on Sunday, and we only had the tech updated to do best 2 out of 3 at the time. Gotcha. So he had to go back to game 4. He's like, I can't believe I have to go back to paper for game 4, right?
Yeah.
But those now are talking, through Genius Sports, our betting partner. So we're going to be at the point where all of our score bugs on site, no more of the YouTubers complaining, saying, hey, your score's not right. Yeah, we see that. We understand. So now that's going to be updated by every referee. So when the referee's on court, he's going to be able to put in, Zane won this point, Tyson won that point. And that's automatically going to, 1, populate the score bug, and 2, send data to the gambling companies. It's going to send it to Genius Sports. And you can think of Genius Sport as kind of the pipe that feeds all of the information out to all the different books.
Right. And
they're all interested. They all want a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
FanDuel TV, we're going to be doing, a fun thing with them shortly. And so FanDuel, they're going to be in on it. Our friends over at DraftKings, great people. Yep. They're in on it. BetMGM, you name it. They want to be involved in pickleball. And you'll see when we start, it's going to be very, very small, minimized bets, not very complex, and it's going to build time over time. But the answer that you want is May. It is our goal to have gambling in the month of May that people can actually put bets on.
And will that be, will it be like, okay, all of a sudden we can bet on all aspects of the game, or will it be certain aspects of the game we can bet on, like who's going to win this match?
That's where it's going to start. We're working on all aspects of the game right now. So eventually I want, Zane Navertel in game number 1, is he going to hit over or under 2 ATPs? Mm-hmm. We're going to get to some fun stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Can we do some ridiculous stuff like Tyson McGuffin wardrobe changes like they do for the Super Bowl? Like
sure
who's gonna win the coin toss?
Like
I can go off.
North Carolina.
we had the best. I came up with the best prop bet of pickleball history. I'm just gonna say it. I was watching with Jeff Warnick and Johnny Goldberg, who were very intoxicated at the Atlanta Open, which kind of goes without saying, right? We were watching a Riley and Tyson match against the Johns brothers in Atlanta
2 years ago.
2 years ago. That was 2021.
Yeah.
And I
they
said,
won, right?
Yeah. But I said to the boys, over under 2.5 butt smacks from Tyson to Riley. They bet the over. I bet the under. We also decided any Riley butt smack to Tyson is bet winning for them. So they just have to get Riley to smack the butt or Tyson to smack the butt 3 times. They had a huge comeback in game 1, and Tyson gives them a meaty one, right? It was a big one. It was a big one. Game 2 doesn't go their way. That's okay. Game 3 was back and forth. I was really expecting to lose at that point. And they get to the end of it. There's no third butt smack. And so obviously Jeff and they tap paddles, but the bet was until they come off the court. So they tap paddles. Tyson and Riley just won. And Jeff and Johnny go down there and they say like, come on, Riley, show your man some love. And Riley winds up and gives Tyson the biggest butt smack. So are we going to be able to bet on Tyson McGuffin butt smacks?
I mean, that's up to the Bucks. Up to the Bucks. I like it though. I think he smacked my butt quite a few times. I'm like, it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. You don't like it?
Keep that in mind.
Okay.
Well, so okay, one of the
now you know.
Now, I was wondering. I wonder what percentage of people enjoy or don't enjoy a Tyson butt smack? And
I have a story for you later. I've got a story for you.
Is PPA looking into any?
You can't even make this up. You won't believe it.
Where does the Tyson's butt smack, like, where does that come into the new PPA handbook that you guys are making? Are there guidelines surrounding that? Like,
it's the brand, man.
Fair, but how much touching is too much touching?
It's a tough question.
We're gonna have to define that. We're gonna have to
one
define
of those things they're working on.
Tough question.
I do hope we get to the point where like the crowd goes wild because of a Tyson butt smack, because they all had that problem.
The crowd did go wild in Atlanta. We all had money on that, on whether that was going to happen or not. So the one thing that I want to ask about betting before we go.
That's the one thing you're not going to be able to do.
That's the
Players aren't going to be able to do anything like that
good.
anymore. That's one thing that's going to be unique. So pretty soon, our guys over at Sports Radar, they're putting together integrity. And so all the players are going to have to get trained, do a small integrity training, our referees, our staff members, anyone that could have any kind of influence on the game at all. And part of that will be, obviously, there's going to be no placing bets on pickleball for you until you retire.
Gotcha.
So
that was going to be my question.
Yeah.
Like, when, our prize money is going up and up, but I think you have to look to tennis as an example of what not to do.
Yes.
There's tennis is at the challenger level almost, I wouldn't say ruined, but like
maybe close to it.
Yeah, it's brutal how bad the betting and tanking matches is. Like, obviously this is going to come with work with your partners, but what are some obvious steps that you feel like you can take to prevent me from tanking a backdraw match for, $10,000 or something like that?
Yeah, I think the first thing we're doing is the amount of money that you can bet on the sport needs to be, obviously, have some controls around it. So you're not going to be able to come in and bet more money on the sport than what people can make. That's just not going to work. You can't do that.
Okay.
So when you come in, the bets that you're going to see, especially till we get more data as well, they're going to be smaller bets that you can place. Yeah. That's the first way you do it right. The second is surrounding ourselves with people that understand this sport, and it would amaze you the way the ability that this Sports Radar does for integrity detection. Like, the amount of work that goes into that and the amount of data that they'll pull from people studying our sport and seeing players do the slightest things a bit odd. Right. And it's expensive. It's a really expensive service that we have to pay for, but you have to do it because you want to do it the right way. Mm-hmm. And so they'll come in and they'll notice Zane's doing something different, and they'll have to go in and investigate it. And it might just be because you have, a sore calf, right? And they're going to come back with that finding. But anything that looks a little off, it's kind of like a camera you put on at your house at home. And so, like, right now, I'm living in Dallas. I'm not in Salt Lake, but I've got cameras on my place in Salt Lake. If somebody comes to my house, it detects it because it automatically sees that there's something different. There's someone coming. It's on away mode, right? And so that's what's going to happen is, one, technology will be able to detect it, and so will individuals that are watching the sport. And so when they see something that's wrong, they'll flag it. And when they see things that are flagged, they'll go back and investigate. And is it going to be perfect? No. Will something probably happen at some point that's going to make, big news that you guys will both get to talk about? Probably. A
little big. I like it.
Good.
That's called life, and it's really fun.
Okay, so integrity generally. I think we've had some discrepancies with line calls in particular lately. Mm-hmm. Are we going to be looking at automated line calls here soon, or line calls made strictly by line judges?
I do not want to go the line judge route.
Thank God.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you can explain why we don't want to go the line judge route. You'll know. You can explain it better than I can.
I don't want to make any more ref enemies out there. Well, so here's the thing. The way that you call a ball is there's not a great place to position referees. You don't want to be directly on top of the line like you are in tennis. You want to be to the side of the lines. And I think most of the players I would actually say, if I were to poll the players, I think my guess would be probably 90% of us wouldn't want line judges on every line, because I think context is important. If you want line judges on every line, you can get line judges on every line. Ask Salme and Leia, right?
They're available.
Yes, they are. They're available on request. But it doesn't, when I'm playing somebody that I know to be fair and we have a good, decent relationship, like some of the line judges just get in the way of that, to be completely blunt. There's times where you want more, but I would say probably 90% of pros don't want line judges on every line because it's not the best angle to take a look at a call and make an overrule. We've had line judges at the US Open on every line, and it just doesn't work well.
It doesn't look good on TV either. Like, it doesn't look well. We look incompetent. But the other thing is, like, for the most part, until we have technology where we do have electronic line calling on every court, which again, what's unique about us is we have so many courts that are going on. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like we're just doing it on one court, right? We've got so much happening, and it's expensive. And no one has made the technology yet for pickleball. We're close. There's like 3 or 4 companies that are trying to develop what it will be. And will it happen? Yeah, of course it's going to happen. I don't know when, hopefully soon. But the professional player is just better and able to call the line better than somebody that's not playing the match, just due to where you're at. And if you don't like it, challenge it. We'll video it, and we'll go ahead and we'll do a review. And those always aren't perfect either, but they're better than not having it. Mm-hmm. But eventually it would be nice to get exactly to where tennis is. And you got to remember, like, tennis only has this at some of the big events. Not every tennis event has electronic line calls every single time. The ones we see in America here that are on TV, yes. But, most of these tennis tournaments, no, they don't have that.
Right.
And so is it something that we implement at majors and MLP events, or do we do it at 16 events a year? Is it something we purchase and we hire people to run it and follow us on tour? Seems like that's the common theme. By the time we look at going out and contracting something out by another group, it's like, might as well buy it, might as well hire people to do it. Just because we're in the States, we're all traveling from place to place. And by that time, it's like, I might as well have somebody work for me and do it this way rather than contract it out, because you've got more control over it, and it usually becomes more cost effective. Yeah. So those are all the options we're looking into at the moment.
As for challenges, how come you guys don't take my idea?
Good idea. I've never heard it.
My idea
speak up.
Well, I think MLP is implementing my idea where when let's say you make a call, mm-hmm. I disagree. Mm-hmm. If I challenge and the referee doesn't see, they do the classic, right? They don't see. So your call, I agree. This is the worst symbol in pickleball. Your call is the call on the court, right? And you're a very biased person. You want to win. You're making your own line calls, right? When I challenge you, I think it shouldn't, the video replay should not be it needs to be inconclusive evidence to overturn your call, because you're a biased participant.
You think it should be opposite?
I think it should be if it looks in, it's in. I'm 51% certain that ball was in upon looking at the replay. We're going to go, it was in. As opposed to, we need to know 100% that ball was in, right? Because in every other sport, when there's a challenge, there is a call that's made on the field by a referee, an unbiased party, hopefully. So in this case, there is no call that's been made by an unbiased party. So why should the same standard of proof be needed?
So yours is, when in doubt, call it in.
So mine is, I hit a ball.
I see what you're saying. You're saying if the point looks remotely in 51%, it should be 51%, not 100%.
Correct.
Because the person calling it has a bias.
Yes.
It's the first time I've heard that, and I really like it.
I think
it's the first time I've heard it, and it's the first one that's had rationale behind it. And I really like it. I think we should discuss it.
Okay, we'll chat about it. I think it makes sense. If the referee makes a call, then it's the 100% burden of proof. If
the ref makes the call, it should be, unless there is 100. But if it's an unbiased person, I like that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a biased person. I like it. We should talk more about it.
Let's do it.
Agents of change.
There we go. Okay, cool.
Another episode. Another trailblazing moment.
I think it just makes too much sense.
Okay. Let's see. Rally scoring. Mm-hmm. Is it coming? is it needed? Or will we, I mean, because I think, if we ask the powers that be at Major League Pickleball, rally scoring is inevitable. And a lot of people would say that. Mm-hmm. I've said that. What do you think about rally scoring?
Do you still think it's inevitable?
I think that if you want to, particularly for broadcasting, if you want to understand that a typical match takes on average, an hour or something like that, and you need to fit X matches into a broadcast, then yes, you need to have some finite guidelines around how long a match is going to take. That was always my understanding of it and why we would eventually move to rally scoring. What do you think?
I think more than that, because believe it or not, I mean, we're talking to every network, and we've been on most of the networks up to this point. Are we still trying to find an official home for pickleball at some point? Sure. But they're not as worried about our time frame and fitting in a short amount of period. We've never had a problem with it in the past. It's still somewhat easy to gauge. You look at other sports like baseball, when is it going to end? I don't know. So, but you are pickleball, and you got to know who you are. And TV partners, they do say, hey, you've got a 2-hour window, fit in your 2-hour window. Mm-hmm. But it's not necessarily a bad thing if we go over and we're able to move the viewers somewhere else, especially if it's a platform that we own, that we control. It's a good business idea. But I think rally scoring becomes really, really appealing to me is simplicity, the overall simplicity of the game. How do we grow more players, and how do we get more people to play the game, understand the game? Because I don't want to speak for you two, but I know me, I grew up playing a lot of sports. And when I first played pickleball, I felt dumb. I didn't understand it. It took me some time. I did.
You and me both.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
I like to think I'm a pretty confident person too, and I'm like, I didn't know what was happening. I remember playing with Connor Ogden. I played in a tournament with Connor Ogden. For of you that don't know Connor Ogden, he's one of my best friends. Also works at the PPA Tour, and the kid wouldn't even call the score. He would just look at me, And so I think for simplicity, I think there's some things that make a lot of sense. Yeah. But broadcasts, I don't know if it really matters all that much. But I think where we're at today is MLP's done an awesome job making a unique, awesome format. And, we're working with those guys. That's something that we're talking about all the time. How much things do we want uniform, and what things do we want special and unique? And I'm kind of undecided. And I think the PPA group would be undecided. And we're not married to either one.
Right.
I think we're kind of in the wait and see mode.
Okay. Interesting.
I think we should go to tennis scoring. I think we need to go 15, 30, 40.
What do you prefer? Rally?
I like rally scoring a lot better. I think it's the only thing I dislike about rally scoring is I wish that there could still be side switching to enable stacking. And
stacking's so fun. You just see something a little new and more movement.
For sure. And there's an interesting strategy piece of stacking, which is important, especially when returning serve. Like, do we take the risk? Is our
starting in a stack?
Exactly. Is our ideal position worth the risk of somebody hitting a drive down the line? And that balance, I think, is interesting, especially for people who like more athleticism, right? Watching somebody sprint across the court in doubles is stacking allows for more interesting starts to the point, I think. So I would love to see a rally scoring format that we can have some stacking, but I'm a big fan of rally scoring for simplicity's sake, and again for just like think about amateur players like waiting in a paddle stack, like.
When's this match going to end?
Right, exactly.
We've all been there with our paddle up, hoping that these courts, I hope that match finishes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you don't even know if they're telling the truth. They might just
be for sure. I've definitely played some long games where we've been pretending the score is 16-16 or whatever. Yeah.
That's funny.
That's brutal. I think it's good for the masses. It's a small barrier to entry for some people in a sport that otherwise lacks basically any barrier to entry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say I'm pretty pro rally scoring. And I forgot exactly what the analysis was, but Steve and I actually talked about rally scoring.
Oh, it's really close too.
The worry is that like a better player won't win as much because you're playing potentially lesser amount of points. I forgot what the analysis was called, but basically it showed like the better player is normally going to win X amount. Let's say that's 60% of the time. And then with rally scoring, it drops to 58. Like it's a very, very minuscule,
interesting.
very minuscule drop in the
And
percent.
Brian Levine, like the best guy, he is so analytical with a lot of the stuff. He sent me something over the other day too, showing how it works. And it's really interesting. And I think it's something we're kind of in the wait and see mode over here. And I think LMLP is doing a great job. And I think it makes it very exciting and very fun. So kind of undecided.
Got it.
Gotcha.
All right. Speaking of MLP, is that merger in the rear view? Are you guys full steam ahead? Are there still details you're working out?
There's still some minor things. But yeah, I mean, working with those guys has been so fun and it's been so great. And the teams mesh really well together as well. Like I can't speak more highly of the group over there and what they're putting together and what they're doing. And there's just so many really good things, especially it's kind of tricky when you already jump into a season and like, we're like, all right, we're already in go mode. I think what's going to be really fun is as we're getting together now and we're already, like I would say 50 to 60% of my time is thinking about Q4 and next year.
Yeah.
And so being able to figure out with the new partnership and with us working closely together, what are things that we can do to, one, help both of our businesses, two, be great for all the players that are participating, and three, help make sense of the pickleball world to the outside people and all the fans.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's exciting is, you might not see an immediate impact today rather than all the best players being in the same place, which was a pretty big impact. I think that was pretty exciting.
Definitely.
But what you're going to see is, how are we going to operate together moving forward? I think that's more of the interesting part.
Right. What are some of like your biggest priorities with the PPA right now? I mean, like what's number one as far as like taking it to the next level? Is it that big TV deal? Is it a big sponsorship? Is it something else that we're not thinking of? Like, what are you said 60% of your time is on the future. What in the future are you really focused on getting up and running now to cement the PPA's growth for years to come?
Yeah, that's a great question.
No problem. Professional interviewer.
That's a great question. Where we're at now, it's really unique compared to where we used to be, because we were thinking about like those things, like what is the one big thing that we need to do tomorrow to make sure that I'm doing a better job than the APP,
Mm-hmm.
or what's that big thing that I need to do to make sure all the pro players are happy and want to stay on our tour. And those are the things you're really focused about, like the here and the now, and how can I make an impact like shortly? Like I need to make a short impact because there's competition in this space. And so you wanted to think like ahead, but not that far ahead, because the things you needed to do things today, like right now.
Yeah.
And I know, especially with Tom coming in, and, we've got a guy that's been around professional sports, the smartest person I've ever met, like so well connected, understands business, has built things. And being able to have him come in and have him be so invested in the sport of pickleball. I mean, like my first call is at 6:30, my last call is at midnight. He's probably called me twice since we've been doing this, right? He's so invested. And being able to learn and see some of the things that he's done to grow his companies, we're doing some of those things. And
Mm-hmm.
I think looking at more of a long-term approach, because the foundation, I think it's really been laid. And we now have the people, and we have the infrastructure, and we have the resources, and we have the capital, and we have the players, and we have the talent, and we have personalities. And now it's trying to take like what we have and be able to grow each and every little thing kind of little by little. Like, I don't think we're really trying to reinvent the wheel here with something new and something crazy. I think it's like, how do we capitalize on something that's going to grow? And even if we're screwing up, it's going to grow. But how can we help it grow faster? And how can we? And so those are the things we're thinking about. Like, how can we elevate events? How can we make our events, more attractive to people that aren't coming and playing pickleball? Like, how can we help fan experience? How can we make it feel like when you walk into our venue, you go, wow, I'm at a professional event. Yeah. Because those are all things that matter. And, driving revenue and creating more revenue, we got to bring more sponsors in. Mm-hmm. The only way we're going to bring more sponsors in is make it more professional. Yep. The only way we can make it more professional is by having more people watch. So it's kind of like this cycle where, you got to focus on some of these things, and then everything kind of builds off of it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So if you guys get big enough, there's got to be a scenario, 3 years down the road where you say, you know what, it doesn't make sense to hold amateur events with pro events side by side, where it's like, you want to put this thing in a legit stadium and you want to create a real professional broadcast experience like the PGA Tour does. Mm-hmm. Is there a world where amateurs and the amateur and the pro event are just completely separate entities and don't even happen on like the same weekend?
I think that's a good question. It's a really great question. And I don't have the answer today. I know that the pro game and the amateur game are much different, and they're much different from each other. And we're finally at the point now where like you go ahead and you look at that stream, you look at that broadcast, you see who's sitting there and who's buying tickets. When we're actually running our data and our analysis, 85 to 90% of those people didn't even play in the event.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Which is a big change from even a year ago.
People are coming in their coats in Minnesota and keeping them on, and their sun hats in Scottsdale, right? And they're getting dressed to the nines, and they're coming out and they're enjoying a professional event, which is so different, and it's something that's so new. And that's really changed the past even 12 months.
Right.
Where before you used to see everyone trying to find a spot for them and their pickleball bag.
Yeah.
Right? To watch a match. So do I think they could separate? Yes. Both of them are very great businesses for us. Mm-hmm. And so the amateur side is a great part of the business, and there's a lot of growth there. And we own a lot of other companies that aren't just, the PPA Tour. So we want to stay in the amateur game and see it grow. And the pro game's different. So do I think there could be more of like a hybrid type model? Yeah, probably.
What do you think's been the biggest difference with getting non-participants to come and watch, right? So if 85% of the audience didn't play in the amateur event, where are they coming from? How have you guys been able to grow and foster the audience that way?
Yeah, that's one big thing we've tried to do from the beginning is marketing and putting money actually behind marketing. And so we have a team where that's all they're thinking about.
You got a big media team now. I saw that you did like a media day photo shoot with just your team, and it was like 10 people.
Yeah. I mean, those guys are that's our content team.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, right.
And then we have a marketing team aside from them where literally they are just thinking like, how do I get people to come and watch these events? How do I get people to care about who Zane Navertel is? How do I get people to want to engage into the story? How do we sell tickets? Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a big thing and that costs money to do. And so, but we can actually see an ROI where we can say, if I spend this dollar here, I am going to make money there. And so let's increase spending the money here until we see a diminishing return where we're not going to make any more money off that. Mm-hmm. Right. And then where else can we put it to try to, so we're really just treating it like a business. That's the answer there.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, let's treat it like a business, just like if you were trying to sell sunblock, right?
Yeah.
Or what are we doing? We're doing Facebook ads. We're doing billboards. We're doing local media. We're doing radio station reads. We're, doing guerrilla marketing and seeding with local people and influencers.
Right.
And so all those things are important.
Got it. So like Savannah Bananas style things going on.
Wait till you see. We're debuting something new.
Oh boy.
This week.
This week?
Yeah, we've got these fireworks now.
Okay.
That shoot up like 20 feet in the air on court.
Right.
So those are going to be debuted this week. Yeah, Savannah Banana style.
Yeah. Okay.
Ben John's decapitated by rogue firework at professional pickleball tour event.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of like the other things you maybe kind of like that you kind of have up your sleeve that we're going to see rolled out here in the near future that maybe people don't know about, but are kind of exciting elements that you can add to just sort of increase the pageantry, if you will?
Yeah, I think a lot of our growth for exciting things, at least on site in person, is our sponsor list has really grown a lot. And our next step is really having those sponsors have more of a presence activating and enhancing the venue experience. So you haven't been to an event since Carvana has been our title sponsor. Mm-hmm. Zane's seen this, but like when you go on site, they actually have this thing. It almost looks like a batting cage. And it spits balls out to you, and you have to hit different targets. And, there's a photo op. And I think it's more, what are we doing outside of pickleball to make the event an event? Like, what are we doing in the evenings? Are we doing Dink and Drinks? Are we doing the 2-and-Out Club with Miller Lite, right? Making it more of a total festival and a fun picklepalooza, not just the event itself. And so that's what we're really focused on right now, really.
Yeah, cool.
Is like, how do we make it? We're pretty good at running tournaments. Like, we need to be better at running events.
Right.
Where was the 1-and-Out Club for today? Just wondering. Last thing.
It's at Dreamland somewhere.
It's at Dreamland
right?
somewhere. 19th hole. We got rid of the backdraw today. When are we going to get rid of the backdraw completely?
Do you like the backdraw?
I don't think the incentives are lined up for the backdraw.
I'd agree.
Like right now, I mean, most of us are better off saving ourselves for mixed doubles the next day, unless you're trying to get the experience of playing.
Yeah.
And especially with like only being able to come back to fifth. I think last year when you were able to come back to third, you had a lot more people playing. So what does it feel like to have so many people pulling out of singles after losing? Like, I guess where do you come down on that right now?
You know, I know people are like, oh, well, you know, shouldn't the PPA feel really bad right now about this happening? And, you know, my thought is the backdraw's here for one reason right now. And it's so players that are not as experienced can continue to keep getting experience. And I think that's the thing that's important here is that not every player that's playing the pro event is a pro touring professional.
Right.
And so until that changes, the backdraw is going to be here. And it's getting closer to changing. Like, look at what we did with the qualifiers. I mean, for heaven's sakes, we had 90 players in Florida playing men's singles pro.
Yeah, that's wild.
91 players signed up, 89 played. Right? And the players that were already in the main draw at the very beginning were 24. So they were playing for 8 spots. You know, there was 60 something players playing for 8 spots. And so as we can continue to do that, I think that will eventually eliminate the backdraw. But the problem is, like, look at women's doubles right now. Like, we need all those people to get experience. We need them to be able to play. So where's the first place it'll probably go away from? Men's singles. That's probably the first place where we're going to see a backdraw elimination. Mm-hmm. But there's just too many people that are coming out right now, and they're coming out they're not touring professionals. They might be pro player caliber, but they still need to get the experience. They need to be able to play. They need to be able to have the opportunity to get a little bit better each and every week. So that's the reason for having the backdraw.
Sure. Makes sense.
I don't think the reason to have the backdraw is to watch you play one more match. That's not the reason it's there.
Gotcha. Yep. I didn't think so. otherwise we might be on a streamed court, but
yeah.
Anything else that you want to add before we wrap it up? I know stream you got it.
That'll be cool. We're going to have 5 of those once gambling starts. 5 stream courts, score bug on the back, not commentated, but that'll be cool.
It's great YouTube content. Just roll it without commentary.
Yeah, just roll it. And
please just never get rid of the live stream chats. I want to hang out with Odoth and Heyshay for forever.
Do you know who those guys are?
No.
You really
do.
Don't? Which one's you?
And which He's Heyshay.
I wish I
know Odoth.
That.
You're Koopy.
I know my boy.
Yeah.
You're Koopy.
You think I'm Koopy Nation? Mm-hmm. I wish I was that creative.
Yeah.
I can't
wish
take
I had that
credit
much
for
time. That's my...
That too. I got too much stuff going on to do that.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
They've got their own language.
Plot twist. It's you. You know a lot about these guys.
Believe it or not, I do. They're so fun to read.
I agree.
It's actually entertaining.
Who's your favorite troll?
I don't know all their names. I usually just read it. I know Koopy because that's just a funny name. I think that might be the only one I actually know.
Gotcha.
What were the other ones you said?
Odoth and Heyshay and Koopy are the ones that I think of. Those are the ones that I know.
I think Axel Delmonico, Future 5.0. Most creative. He's got some.
I've never even heard of this.
He's very, very trolly. Pretends to be dumb, but like knows everything about pro pickleball.
Right.
And he says it in a really funny way.
We were talking about this at dinner. So we were at dinner with a new sponsor of ours tonight, right before I got here. That's why I'm so dressed up. And we were literally talking about the people that chat on the Pickleball YouTube. They asked me about it. They're like, they were watching and they were reading it. They're like, so what's this chat thing going on here? Yeah. But I think it is entertaining and it's engaging, and engagement's great, whether it's good or bad or whatever it may be. Anyone that cares enough to invest time like that, I'm happy.
Yeah,
they're,
good.
I'm happy they're a part of it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I was telling Zane before we started, I was commentating on a Major League Pickleball match, and I had to live stream up, and they were just ripping me to shreds, like, shut this guy up. And it was very tough to keep my composure while I was, like, on camera.
While you were doing it?
Yeah. But no, I think they're hilarious. I like when they speak their minds. And, yeah, it's good that there's people that care this much and will tune in, week out, know everything that they do.
You're pretty good at commentating. You've done a couple of ours.
Thank you. Yeah.
it's a
Haven't been asked back, but you know.
Guess he's not that good.
You good? Yeah. But no, thanks for coming on. I think this is great. I'm really glad it worked out, and sounds like you closed that deal at dinner too. So
yeah, we'll do it. It'll be exciting.
Really good.
Yeah, but yeah, no, appreciate you having me on, and really appreciate everything that both you guys are doing for the sport. So are you a regular here now? Is this the PicklePod?
This is my podcast, homie.
It is.
Nah, it's mostly his, but I'm a permanent host.
Pod, yeah.
Oh yeah. We'll call it mine. That's cool. I come up with some ideas. I talk. I yap. I think I ask decent enough questions.
Uh-huh.
People seem to like me.
Yep.
Some of them, but yeah. So I'm here every week.
Last year, I would have never thought I'd be here sitting with you. By the way.
Yeah, probably me either.
I mean?
But I mean, just so much stuff changes in pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to predict what things are going to look like. And, my idea was last year, I wanted to keep options open.
Yeah.
So I didn't want exclusivity. And so that was my thought process. And, you gotta be ready for the ever changing pickleball landscape. That's for sure.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Perfect.
PicklePod.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, rather had fun, yeah.